Welcome back to Beer Fueled Fantasy Football. Fading out real quick on the intro there.
Well, it's been a while since I've actually had to fade it to keep the buzz from happening. We've had guests, so it's usually pretty okay. So I was a little heavy on that. I was also distracted by the fact that I have like the 3 sizes of drinking glass to my right now.
All right. Well, I hope you're watching on YouTube so you can see him gesture to that. You can find us on YouTube, Beer Fueled Fantasy Football. Individually, I am at Nick Sparts. Got Dan Thury across the table from me.
At Thury BFF. What's up, guys?
Hey, we still didn't adjust the camera.
No, we didn't.
Oh, well.
Fuck it.
And to my left is Christopher Hopper.
At Hot BFF with 2 Ps. How you doing, guys?
You can find us on Twitter if you want the follow the whole show account and what we're up to at Beer Fueled FF, on Instagram and Untapped, the same place, and then Facebook is Beer Fueled Fantasy Football. Hopefully you guys did check out the Monday episode. We had Johnny Slokes on to go ahead and talk about a mock draft. We went through 7 rounds of a half-point PPR draft. That was a lot of fun. Kind of get an early snapshot here of where some guys are going to be going and what some draft strategies might be for your teams. Today, though, we're going to go and look at some of the early ADP, though, and talk about some guys that are too high or too low. Pair that with a beer review, as always. But before we do that, we do have some announcements. Hopper, I believe you have a redraft league.
Yep, so we did the Dynasty League for the last couple weeks, so we are going to have a redraft listener league this season, just like we did last season. We're going to have prizes, so I'll go over that in just a second. It is going to be a super flex format with half PPR. So to qualify for this, because it is going to be a drawing, there's 4 different ways you can qualify. A screenshot of a Fantasy Cares donation in any amount DM'd to me. So that's at HotBFF with 2 Ps. Don't send it to the show. It'll probably get lost. So send that to me directly. A screenshot of you leaving your reviews on iTunes, DM'd also to me. If you buy any Beerfield Fantasy merchandise, you'll get an automatic 3 entries for that. So that's hats, t-shirts. Those are on sale. DM the show for details on that one at BeerfieldFF. Or a screenshot of you subscribed on our YouTube channel, also DM to me. All of those will get you a drawing. You can combine those for a maximum of 6. We are only doing 12 teams this year. So 3 of those are us. So there's going to be 9 other teams basically that are going to be up for grabs. So make sure you get into those drawings. And then as far as prizes go, again, we do have prizes this year. So first place, the champion, they're going to get a signed Tyreek Hill jersey. I'll post pictures of that up on Twitter and Instagram later today probably.
And I'm coming for that, so you better bring your A game.
Yep. And a $50 charity donation to a charity of your choice, because we are going to keep that in here. Second place is going to get a Beerfield Fantasy t-shirt or hat and a $30 donation to a charity of your choice. And then third place will just get a $20 donation to charity. So again, ways to qualify: DM to me directly at HotBFF. Screenshot of any amount of a Fantasy Cares donation, of you leaving a review on iTunes, DM'd to me. Screenshot of you subscribe to our YouTube channel, DM to me, or you buy some Beerfield Fantasy merchandise.
All right, and then for the Dynasty Listener League, we are going to go with 16 teams. We got 13 entries, plus the 3 of us means a 16-team league, so we're not going to have to leave anybody out. I want to thank everyone who did jump through all the hoops to get those submissions in, whether it was leaving us a review on iTunes, subscribing on YouTube, or liking us on Facebook. Almost everybody did all 3 of those. Only a couple did 2.
That's awesome. Thanks, guys.
So thank you so much for that, guys. I will email all of you with kind of what we're going to do for the league, and you should see invites for MFL here in the next week or 2.
Yep. And then as far as the redraft league, one other thing, we will be running qualifications until July 29th, I believe is the date I put on it, and then we'll draw then.
Yep, so it's about a month. So similar to what we did for the Dynasty League here, where it's about a month long, we're going to do a month for the Listener League for that. So yeah, guys, have some time, but if you want to make sure your name's on there, get chopping.
Yeah, defend my title.
Yes, you do. Let's knock Dan off, all 11 of us.
Looking at you, big time chop.
All right. Well, shall we go ahead and get into a beer preview then?
Yep. Hey, I should turn the volume up first. Hold on a second. Let's wait for that to play so I don't hit it in the middle of it. Oh, wait,
we're professionals
I can
here.
just stop it. There we go.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah, having the 9.7% episode one was rough.
Yeah.
And I got to go to work after this.
It'll feel good.
Good luck.
Good luck,
Good
Dan.
luck.
All right. On today's episode, we have Dark Side of the Moon by Bald Men Brewing. It is a 6.2% smoky coffee and chocolate porter.
That's what I'm getting off of it. It felt weird.
The smoky?
Mm-hmm. Now it makes more sense.
Yeah, I kind of noticed the weird flavor too, and then checked it and went, oh, it is very much a smoky porter. Mm-hmm. They're based out of Eagan, Minnesota. It's their first time on the show.
Where is this located? In Eagan, you know?
In Eagan.
It's over by the bowling alley.
Okay.
If you didn't know, Dan and I both lived in Eagan for a stretch.
Alrighty then.
Shall we get into some too high?
Let's go too high, too low. I got it combined.
Too high, too low.
We're going real tropical there.
Yes. Well, it's warm outside, so it kind
Little,
of
I
matters.
love it.
little summer feel. That's what
love
I was
it.
going for on that one.
As always, fantastic.
All right, so what we're going to do here, similar to what we've done in other times here, we're each going to do one player from each position, and then I gave everybody a flex. So if there's a position you wanted to double down on for a player you think is going too high, you have the opportunity to do that. Kicking it off first, we're going to start with quarterbacks that are too high. Dan, I want you to talk about yours. It's a player we've talked about before.
Yep. We're going to go with Jimmy Garoppolo here. When I did my notes a few days ago, he was at the 904. He's now moved to the 812, so he is rising. He's still the QB9, which is, I think, more of my talking point here. He threw 7 touchdowns in 5 games last year, and he also threw 5 picks. I understand that the yards are going to be there, but they haven't added a whole lot of true upside, of a receiver to this receiving core. I like Pettis, but not as a 1. Richie James is just another slot receiver as well. And they also added McKinnon, which I do like, but he's not a true receiver. So for me, there's just other quarterbacks at this spot that I can take here. Guys that are going behind him, I think directly behind him. Matthew Stafford, Matt Ryan, Jared Goff, Phillip Rivers, and Andrew Luck, and Big Ben. All guys I would take ahead of Jimmy Garoppolo at this point.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate here a little bit. I think this is on the high end of fair. I will give it the high end of fair, but here's why. First off, Shanahan's offense has only averaged about 430 rush attempts. That's since 2013. Yes, he had 5 interceptions, but he only had 7 interceptable passes and 8 danger plays. To me, that's bad luck. You see guys with a lot more of that aren't getting picked off. 49ers passed over 600 times last season. So you're going to get volume out of Jimmy Garoppolo, even though the touchdowns aren't necessarily there. So of the guys you mentioned that I would take over him, Andrew Luck and Matthew Stafford are probably the only two, just because Luck has huge upside and Stafford's a consistent quarterback 1. And then Roethlisberger might be in the discussion there, but I get the touchdown things is a bit of a concern, but like I said, there's just some bad luck that was associated with that to me.
I like Jimmy G. There's just guys I would rather have.
Like I said, it's the high end of fair. I think 9 to. I mean, I would probably have him more in the 10 to 14 range. So it's just a little high.
Yeah, I have him as a early QB2, not as a back end QB1. So just a few spots too high. And if he was falling more to the 10th or 11th, I'd be way more interested than taking him in the back end of the 8th. Hopper, try to keep this short because I think we've talked about DeShaun Watson enough.
Yep. All right, here we go. DeShaun Watson his ADP is down. First off, I think he's down into the
early fifth
round. So that's good. However, he's still going ahead of Brady, Breeze, Wentz, Newton. That should not be happening. I am happy to see that he is down 2 rounds. I hope that trend continues because he should be down around.
He's actually back in the 4th round.
Is he?
Yeah.
So he's low 4th, early 5th, though.
Yeah. It should be down probably in that QB 8 to 12 range. 9.3% touchdown rate is not sustainable at all. 3.9% interception rate. That's really, really high. He's on pace to be sacked a decent amount last year. Now, some saving grace, though, the Bill O'Brien offense. TJ Yates, Brian Hoyer, Ryan Fitzpatrick have all had 5% or above touchdown rates in this offseason. Fuller and Hopkins are going to help his kind of yards per completion efficiency. So he did have a lot of danger plays and interceptable passes because of the arm strength, I think, which is what we knocked him on coming into the draft. So, and he has the running upside his floor. So I don't hate Watson as a QB1. I hate Watson as the QB2.
Yeah.
He's coming off the board.
Yeah, he's often going in front of Wilson. And
the highest he's been drafted in leagues so far based on FF Calc?
Probably second.
103.
Yeah, this is just
ridiculous. Saying, little too high, guys. A little too high.
Yeah, I think people are finally starting to calm down on him a little bit, and we are seeing that in ADP. And I'm definitely seeing that for a lot of industry people being like, hey, let's pump the brakes at least a little bit here.
He's exciting. Let's not get crazy, though.
Yeah, let's not go nuts. So I'm glad to see that, but we're going to continue putting cold water on him until we think he's down probably where he belongs in the 6th or 7th roundish range is about where it'd be like, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, when he gets down around Cam Newton range, which Newton's going, I think, 7th right now.
Yes. Yes.
So when he gets down into that range, I'm going to start to feel a little better about it. And if you were to get down into Cousins range, that's probably where I'd start to like it.
8th round.
If he gets down into like Cousins range in the 8th or 9th round range,
That's
I'm just going to
perfect.
straight take him.
Yeah, that's perfect for me.
That's where he should go.
If he's in the 6th and 7th, I'll probably just be like, that's okay.
Yeah.
And then if it continues to be 5th or up, it's gross.
He's still high, but he's trending in the right direction because he was 307 when we did the division preview on this, I think.
Yeah.
All right. And then my too high is Jared Goff. He's a guy who showed a lot of development last year, but he's currently going at the 10:01 coming off the board, which I think, and it's QB 11 off the board. He's going in front of players like Luck, Rivers, and Roethlisberger, all three players who I would rather have over Goff, just because this is still going to be a run-first offense. Those other guys have significantly more upside on a week-to-week basis to go out and actually win you a game.
They do. I like the Brandon Cooks arrival in this offense and what that means for Goff. He did have a high touchdown rate and a low interception rate, but that's kind of a McVay offense trademark. Kirk Cousins also, in his seasons with Sean McVay, kind of made that same type of trademark with a touchdown rate that was usually high 4s and an interception rate that was usually between 1.5 and 2. So I don't expect a lot of regression in his efficiency, but I expect a lot of the same. I don't expect him to take another giant step like he did last year.
Yeah, and he had some good games, but it was outside of the one crazy Giants game. I don't think he had a ton of amazing games.
He was always good against bad defenses, and he struggled against good ones.
And he's going to face some real good ones this year.
He does have a tough schedule this year, so he's a high-end streamer for me.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, I have him similar to where I've got Garoppolo. I've got him kind of in that 13-14 spot.
That's exactly where him and Garoppolo and probably Bortles belong as the three best streamers you can get.
Just had to squeeze that one in, didn't you?
Of course I did.
All right.
Speaking of which, I forgot to change shirts, and this is sad to me because I had a 4th of July shirt since this episode's going to drop on the 4th of July. I didn't wear.
Well, happy 4th of July, everybody, if you're listening to this on the holiday.
It said yikes in quotes, and then it said New England 1776 or England 1776. Shout out Barstool Sports for that one.
We'll have to get a picture of that and throw it on Instagram.
I will. Shout out Barstool Sports though.
All right, moving on to running backs. Hopper, let's kick it off with Sony Michel, since that was a furious debate in the last episode.
Not necessarily a furious debate, but I got to scroll down to this real quick. Holy
He got talked about the most. I don't know if it was a debate.
I don't know that it was a debate, but here's why. He's going out of Ronald Jones, Royce Freeman, Deion Lewis, Marshawn Lynch, Isaiah Crowell, all guys that, from a volume perspective, I like more, at least. And CJ Anderson. I think that they all landed in better situations, but the lead back in New England, usually 12.4 rushes per game, 5.7 targets per game. That's not bad, but you've got one back that's had over 200 carries in the last 5 years, and only one season with the backs playing 16 games. So to me, that says that if you get a bunch of healthy guys in the backfield, that's going to spread out even more than what it has been, because you've got 5 seasons, one person over 200 carries, and you've had running backs that are missing games. I think James White's been the next most consistent, playing 14 games. He's got a defined role as a pass catcher. You've seen that when you look back at this offense, and the New England running back has always been, well, how do I figure this out? Well, it's pretty easy. When Vereen was there, he's the pass catching back. He saw between 60 and 80 targets. White's now the pass catching back. He's seeing between 60 and 80 targets every season. And then you usually have two guys that carry the rushes, and that's going to be Sony Michel and Rex Burkhead, and you usually have a goal line back. It was Gillislee last year that had 106. It's probably going to be Jeremy Hill this year. So it's just really spread out. These backs do have more defined roles than people like to give it credit for. The reason you see a lot of variance is because of the injury situations that have happened, or just people being marked inactive.
Well, and also how their game plan each week. Because they will attack a specific thing, and that player will get the rock, and then the next week it'll go away.
Yeah. So I think Michel's probably the second most consistent, probably. James White being the first. That's not saying that James White is going to outscore Sony Michel. That's saying he's more predictable. But Sony Michel is going as the running back 23, and I think that he ends up kind of more in that RB3 range, not the low-end RB2.
Okay, so he's probably about 6 spots too high.
Yeah, he's going at the 410. I like him a lot more in the mid to late 5th.
And that's where I took him in our draft.
Yeah, or
Monday's episode as the last pick in the 5th draft, where I feel a lot more comfortable than a late 4th
or early 6th. And again, it just depends on who else is on the board there also. So Marshawn Lynch is a guy that I think they take the stupid carry count off of him and some other things there. So
yeah, hopefully Green does something right here.
Yeah, but Michel gets a lot of hype though, and I just wanted to kind of temper that based on the way that New England uses their backs.
All right, Dan, you got Kareem Hunt.
I wanted to pick a first round player. And then I've always been a little up and down on Kareem Hunt. I love Kareem Hunt. I'm going to just say that right now. When he's on and they're using him properly, he is top 5, top 7 easily, and he showed that last year. It's when they decide to get cute and turn away from him. And it's not cute for one game. It's cute for stretches of games. Weeks 8 through 13 last year, he was RB37, 8.7 points per game. I want a little more confidence in my first round pick. That's the only thing about this, is that he's going in the first round. I don't have that type of confidence in him from a production, from a week-to-week standpoint. He could get that. He could. But is now Andy Reid's back to play calling with Matt Nagy gone, who made that kind of subtle changes, in the early middle weeks last season, which saw the downturn. And also his 2 worst games last year came in the 2 games before the fantasy playoffs started, which hurts even more so for a lot of those owners. I like Kareem Hunt, as I said. I'm not sold on him in the first round.
Yeah, I have him as a kind of mid-second round guy. We're not nearly as high on him as industry appears to be, though. Hopper appears to be the highest of the 3 of us.
On Kareem Hunt?
Yes.
Yeah, I am, and that's just because when I looked into it more, into that midseason slump especially, it wasn't necessarily the fact that he was inefficient. It was that they just stopped using him, and that didn't make any sense to me. That seemed like an anomaly and something that I would hope the coaching staff would look like and be like, oh shit, that was dumb. Maybe we shouldn't do that again.
Well, I would say that if it didn't last for 5, 6, 7 games. That was my concern. It lasted for a stretch of games.
It did, but it was usage. It wasn't efficiency.
I mean, he had 22 carries against Denver, and he put up 60 yards.
Yeah, that was one of his, 4 games last year where he was under 4 yards a carry? I mean, I'm sure I could go find you a Todd Gurley game where he played like shit. So
he had one.
Yeah, I'm sure he had one where he played like shit, or where he took a ton of carries to get up there. And it's, okay, it's Denver. Their front 7 is not exactly slouch worthy. So I am higher on him. I think RB7's a little steep. I like him more around the 9 or 10, which I think is where I took him in that mock draft.
He's the RB. Yeah, he's RB8 right now. Going on.
No, you took
base and ADP.
You took him as the 7.
Did I? Oh, whatever.
Yeah, you took him at top 4 Kamara and.
Look, I'll admit that I'm higher on most on Kareem Hunt, but it's. Like I said, it's because of what I've seen. He had 6 with 5+ targets, 12 over 4 yards a carry. He's kind of the anti-Christian McCaffrey, where he's 6th in breakaway, 1st in evaded tackles, 2nd in juke rate, 5th in yards created. He destroyed light front, and you had Watkins, Hill, and Kelsey to that offense with a big armed quarterback.
Then why turn away from him? And not for one game. Or 2 games,
and
for stretches.
And
you
can't assume coaches are going to do the obvious thing from a fantasy standpoint.
No, they don't care about our teams.
All right. And my guy is Christian McCaffrey, who's currently crept up to the 206, running back 11 going off the board. I was cool with him kind of when he was going in the back end of the second, because that's about where I think he should go, is kind of the 210, 212, 301 type range. He's now going in front of players like Devontae Adams, Devontae Freeman, AJ Green, LaShawn McCoy, and Mike Evans. I am not okay with any of that. He's probably going to see some target regression. He was at 113 last year. I'm projecting him closer to 90 this year, so he's probably losing about 20 targets. Touches may go up slightly, but the running game is going to be a bit of a question with them losing Norwell. Same reason I like Fournette this year. I kind of am downgrading the Panthers' running game equivalently, and now they have Moore, Olsen, and Anderson all there. It's going to be a bit of a mess, and I think mid-second is way too high for him. I think he's at least a half round too high.
For McCaffrey?
Yes.
Yes. I completely agree with that. I said anti-McCaffrey for Kareem Hunt, so let's look at McCaffrey. No running back has ever had more than one season of 110 targets. He was 19th in juke rate, 40th in yards created, 52nd in yards created per carry. That 19th in juke rate for a guy who's supposed to be shifty is a little weird to me. No goal line carries also on under 4 yards a carry against all fronts, and then you bring in DJ Moore, Greg Olsen, and CJ Anderson's back in the mix, who's going to take who's going to be at least the goal line back, which completely kills any touchdown upside you have with McCaffrey. YouTube's going to hate me for this rant, but I'm right there with you. He's an early 3rd for me.
All right. If anyone can tweet me every single time we've heard that rant so far this offseason, I will send you
right
a
up there
shirt.
with Balaj.
So I want episode numbers
rant,
with timestamps.
The Balaj
I will
rant
send you
and
a free
the
shirt.
CMC rant.
It's up there, but it's legitimate. You bring Moore and Olsen in to take targets and CJ Anderson in to be a better Jonathan Stewart, who's also an adept pass catcher that's going to require some targets. I mean, you can be a CMC truther all you want to be until they don't sign somebody else that has pedigree. So if they hadn't signed CJ Anderson, it was just Cameron Artis-Payne, I'd be all over CMC as a 3-down back because I hate Cameron Artis-Payne.
And I agree with you. I've got him, as I said, he's about half a round too early right now, and I'm projecting him to lose about 20% of his targets from last year.
I'm right with you.
All right, moving on to the wide receivers. Dan, Josh Gordon, who thankfully I did not take till the 5th round in our mock.
305, wide receiver 12. That is fucking insane. Tyrod Taylor hasn't thrown more than 436 passes in his career. Hugh Jackson offenses have typically gone bottom half of the season. Actually, I think 3 or 4 of them have gone in the low 20s. Last year was the first time it's crept in the top 10. There's just too many.
Were losing.
Yeah, that's because they were losing constantly, and they didn't want to use Duke Johnson. But either way, I would rather take Jarvis Landry in the 5th round, going at the 5'10", 2 rounds later, who is the number 1 receiver in this offense. They paid him to be the number 1 receiver in that offense. He's not just a slot receiver. They've been experimenting with him on the outside as well. I like Gordon. I do. I love his story. I love what he's been able to do. But the fact is that he should not be going as a wide receiver 1 in an offense that's not going to throw nearly as much and is far more balanced than it's been maybe in the last 3 to 4 or 5 years.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I absolutely fucking love that you're down on Josh Gordon because Jarvis Landry is the one here. And then you've got David Njoku. Yep. You've got 2 running backs. And when Josh Gordon came back last year, he wasn't necessarily impressive. I'm with you. I love a good comeback story. I love people that overcome their demons. I've had my own that I've had to overcome. But when it comes to productivity on the field, I think he still needs to get back into it. And he's going to have a harder time doing that this year with other reliable weapons there.
Yeah, he should be going in the 5th, not the 3rd.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where I took him in the draft was about right.
He shouldn't be drafted as a wide receiver 1. I mean, like as the back end wide receiver 1. He should
as a low 2 high 3.
Good upside, sure,
Yeah.
but not. That's no.
All right, Chris Hogan, which I believe actually went higher than this in the mock we just did, thanks to Johnny. Hopper, what do you think of Chris Hogan?
No. Chris Hogan, he had like 50 some odd targets last year. And he doesn't play. He said that with Edelman on the suspension, he thinks Hogan's going to get those targets. I don't, because I think Jordan Matthews is going to get those targets.
I agree with that.
And I think Jordan Matthews also moves outside whenever Edelman comes back. And you're going to have some rotation between, him and Malcolm Mitchell out there if they're not tired of Edelman shit. But yeah, Chris Hogan's a guy who I think his role doesn't change regardless of the Edelman suspension. I don't think Edelman was gone last year, and he still only had 58 targets.
Now, he did miss a lot of time with that AC joint sprain, but...
He missed 4 games, but, even with that, you're still talking, 60, 70, wide receiver 4 range?
Yeah,
And he really quieted off after his massive start.
No, he did, and he is going to be the primary deep threat in that offense, at least until Gronkowski's back, or at least with Sorry, not until Gronkowski's back. As long as Gronkowski's healthy, which he missed time last year. Gronkowski averages over 14 yards of completion.
Mm-hmm.
That is who they like to throw to downfield. So Chris Hogan's a guy I'm incredibly tepid on.
Yeah, I was, before the Edelman suspension, I think he was going in the 10th or 11th round. I was actually kind of interested, but early 6 is a hell no.
Yeah, I agree with
so
that.
I was looking at his ADP.
Is it 601 still, or?
I'm looking at it right now. 512. So yeah.
So it's creeping up.
Yeah. I completely agree because I think the pass catching backs are going to be used in this offense as well. You saw at the end of last year, they really started to go away. It got from another deep threat in Brandon Cooks, where they went more Gronk and running backs. And I can see them doing the same thing here as Brady's arm isn't the same as it used to be.
And something to think about Hogan, too. He's 29 years old. This is not like a young player who's developing
he's like
still.
30.
Or he's like 30.
He's 30.
Yeah, he's not a young receiver who's like just breaking out. Mitchell is the young receiver who could possibly break out.
No,
and they like.
And that they like. I agree with that. And I apologize for my distracting family shit going on. So
I got you. All right, I'm going to go with another Patriots receiver here who's going too high. Even with a 4-game suspension currently still standing, Julian Edelman is going in the 6th round as a wide receiver 29. Coming off the board at 608.
He should be going a little bit lower. It's kind of the Mark Ingram thing. Edelman, when he's healthy, averages over 9 targets a game, which is insane volume, but he's going to miss the first 4, so you have to adjust accordingly. If you're light on wide receiver and you take Edelman in that 6th or 7th round and you stash him, and then when he comes back, you play him, I'm all for that.
Yeah, but he should be going in about probably the 8th.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Now, if the suspension does get overturned, which it sounds like there is a chance that happens, he should be probably going in the early 6th, late 5th. That's probably about fair for him for what I see for him. Because remember, he's a 32-year-old receiver. He's coming off an ACL tear for a team that likes to spread out the ball, who just brought in Jordan Matthews, who is a younger version of himself.
Yeah, and that's why I think Jordan Matthews is one of my favorite draft grabs in the 12th to 14th round.
Yeah, he is absolutely up there. I was really enjoying it before the suspension, looking at him as a last round grab type player. Like, I'm not even going to grab a kicker or defense. Jordan Matthews, and we'll see what happens through training camp.
No, I like Jordan Matthews in this offense a lot because I think it is the younger at home, and that's why I made the statement. I don't know what his contract situation is, but that's why I made the statement of if they even want to put up to his shit. Because I think if Matthews comes in and he performs, is Edelman going to see 9 to 10 targets a game again? No, I don't think so. I think that you maybe see that fall to 6 or 7.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
So,
all right, moving on to the tight end position. This got a little ugly, but Hopper, kick us off with Trey Burton.
did I get my wide receiver?
Yeah, you had Hogan.
Chris Hogan.
Oh, I did?
Yes.
Oh, hey, look at that. I didn't even read my notes for that. I just spitballed off the top of my head.
Cool. Well, let's go on to Trey Burton.
Okay, Trey Burton. Trey Burton is a guy that he's going as the 802, I think, ahead of Jordan Reed, George Kittle, Jack Doyle, David Njoku. That's per FF Calc yesterday.
Yep.
Tight end 9. He should be a flyer more than anything. You got Shaheen around. They're gonna cut into each other's carries, guys. I don't know how else I put it. This is a OJ Howard, Cameron Brate situation is what you're looking at right here. You've got a guy that had 34 targets last year that is an adept pass catcher, but Shaheen's a bigger target. He's a better blocker. He's going to be on the field more than Trey Burton is. And it's not going to be a Levine Toilolo Austin Hooper situation where he only sees 20 targets. Shaheen's going to get used because I think he can work downfield better, and especially in the red zone, better than Trey Burton can. Trey Burton's a guy that I do not want to take in round 8. Trey Burton's a guy that if I do what I've talked about this season and I take and I skip out in the top 8 tight ends, he's one of the 2 guys that I want to take in rounds 11 through 14. He's not somebody I want to take round 8 where, I could get a higher end quarterback or something like that because he is not the guy.
Yeah, he probably still is my tight end 9, kind of fighting there with Jordan Reed for the 9-10 spot, but not in the 8th round. For me, it's strictly an ADP thing of there's a cliff after the top 8 tight ends that I'm not going to want to touch one probably until rounds 11 or 12.
Yeah, I think he's going to be more of a outside the 20s guy. I think Shaheen's going to be the red zone, at least a red zone threat when they get down there. And I expect him to be down there, quite a bit. But we don't know what this Bears offense is going to project in terms of targets and amounts thrown. So I'm with you there. A little too early for me.
All right. Evan Ingram.
Copy, paste, same notes. Pretty much. No, I'm kidding.
That's exactly what I did.
He saw 115 targets last year. That was without Shepard for a lot of the times because he was banged up even if he played. Obviously, without Odell Beckham, he was the only guy you can rely on. So now you add in a healthy Odell, a healthy Shepard, and you draft Barkley. Not going to see that again. Problem with Ingram is that he just wasn't efficient with his actual targets. He's 55.7% catch rate, led all tight ends in drops with 13. Only 1.22 target separation, which is 30th amongst tight ends. Yards per target, 6.3, 29th. He's not getting targeted enough downfield. All while giving Eli Manning or whoever's going to be quarterback at that point a 73.9 rating when targeting him. I think it's going to be good for him that he's going to receive less targets because he should be more efficient, not see the type of work. But because of that, he should be nowhere near drafted in the 6th round as a tight end 6.
Right there with you. The offense is between the offensive coordinator and the head coach here. I've supported Olsen and Rudolph, but I think this is more Rudolph than Olsen. He's not going to repeat his 113 target season. Odell's back, so the touchdowns are going to fall off. Do I think he's a tight end 1? Yes. Do I think he should be the 6? No. 9 or 10 maybe.
He's a back end 1.
Yeah, he's a back end 1.
He should be where Burton and Reed are being drafted. I don't hate him in the 8th round, but in the 6th, though, you're giving up a lot of value there.
It's stiff.
I would definitely take him before Reed or Burton, but
No, I'm not saying before them. I'm saying where they're being drafted right now.
Oh, okay. So push them down and he goes down.
Yeah.
I get you. Yeah, I definitely would see he should probably be probably a round-ish, maybe a little bit more than a round lower than he is.
Yep.
Tyler Eifert going at the 12-10, and I think that's too high still.
It's hard to trust a guy that can't really ever stay healthy.
He can't stay healthy. He's a touchdown monster, and I think he has Jordan Reed type of upside if he's healthy, but he's never healthy.
So, guys who are going after him right now, ASJ, Ebron, Njoku, Howard, Brait, Watson. Eifert may not be ready for training camp.
Njoku I like more. Brait, maybe. Yeah, okay. I like Eifert's upside, which is the hard part for me, right? Because I see the potential when he's healthy, but he's been healthy never. I mean,
it's been a couple years.
Not even then. He only played 13 games that year.
Yeah, and it's been a back issue that he just has never recovered from, and he's playing a position where he's constantly going to get it hit.
And back problems are a bitch.
Yeah, they are.
So
maybe you should just retire. Like, just wait.
I mean,
hold off your career.
At this point, even it's what could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's... My viewpoint on him, he's mostly done. He's probably not even going to be ready for training camp is the rumor we're getting right now.
He's also in that range where it's like, okay, I need 2 flyers.
And if you take him, I don't hate it.
He's got great upside.
Yeah, but he needs to be paired, and I think around this range anyways, it's where you're taking your upside.
Just with the thing that he's not even going to be healthy for training camp is just like, all right, I'll take all those guys I just listed over.
I'm with you. I'm not drafting them.
And it's a rumor. We'll see what happens when we actually get into August and into draft season and what it is then.
Oh, no, I completely agree. I will change my opinion if the information changes, but the current information we have is that he's still not healthy, which is very, very no bueno. All right, going on to our flex positions. All right, keep this one short. We've done this one enough. Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry, 311, RB17. I don't understand why people are still taking him as a high upside type of player in the third round. He hasn't caught more than 14 passes in a season. He's only caught 24 total in his first year. He couldn't beat out DeMarco Murray last year, who was banged up for most of the season. Tennessee completely changed their offensive scheme and setup. They're going to be more balanced, maybe even more pass heavy. Deion Lewis fits that role even more. I like what the 4 brings to this upside brings to the offense in terms of its upside, but Lewis was handpicked to be in this offense. Lewis does have some injury issues and some injury histories to him, but Henry's upside at best is that first, second down thumper, and maybe he becomes more of a better goal line back. He had 6 goal line carries last year and only converted 1. Not a lot of upside for a guy going in the third round.
Yeah, no, I do not see it there. His efficiency numbers were absolutely not there in
they're just
last year.
Everything about him has been meh.
And he got over 200 touches last year and still didn't produce. Murray missed a few games and he still wasn't producing that well with those games. The only games that he had great fantasy weeks were the ones he'd just randomly break off like a 60-yard touchdown.
It was a broken play on the defense. So
he could not consistently make it work. So you're hoping for home runs. He was a Brandon Cooks light at the running back position.
Yeah. No, he was.
Yeah.
Running back saw 80-plus targets in LaFleur's offense. That's not a Henry forte. He's never had more than 20 in a season. He's better as a goal line banger. You've seen last season where he's running behind the line and I'm like, he's going to get tackled for a loss. And then all of a sudden he finds a hole, but it was the exception more than the rule.
All right. Yeah, enough about Derrick Henry. We've hit that enough. He went at the back end of the 7th in the mock draft that we just did.
He was the last pick in the 7th round.
That's okay.
That's good value.
That's
still.
fine.
That's probably...
That's fair.
That's probably been a little low. I'd say he's probably more of a late 6th, early 7th round pick. But yeah, that's kind of where he should be going. He and Lewis should be swapping ADPs.
They should be. And even then he'd be high where Lewis is being drafted right now in the late 5th.
But yeah, that'd be better.
That'd be better.
All right. Will Fuller.
He's going he's going at the 6'11", the wide receiver 30. This is a guy that was over 75 yards one time, over 5 receptions once, and was the wide receiver 86 after he came back from his injury. He's going ahead of guys like Garcon, Watkins, Cobb, Crowder, Woods, Anderson, and Marquise Goodwin. Targets per game were down from 707 to 505 last season. You know, with their stellar wide receiver core that they had, which wasn't stellar at all. You bring in Kiki Kuti, who they've already stated they see as an upgrade in the slot position over Braxton Miller, who I think is going to demand some targets, especially with the lack of tight end. I think he's the second leading receiver on this team. 20% spread on catchable versus caught, which is absolutely terrible. 6 end zone targets, 78th in separation with 35.7% contested target rate. Here's the thing, right? If you're going to be a wide receiver in this league, you got to do one of two things well. You've got to win contested catches, or you've got to separate so that you're open when you make the catches. And he is neither. So, for me, this is incredibly Will Fuller shouldn't even be drafted.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
No, I would, because it was
would.
all touchdowns last year, and touchdowns are a fluky stat. 7 touchdowns and under 30 receptions. You know who else has done that?
Probably nobody.
Nobody. No one.
Yeah, it was insane. I think I think every 4 passes he caught a touchdown.
Yeah, no one.
No, it was the highest
It was
touchdown
insane.
rate basically ever for
Yeah.
anyone who had more than like 20 targets.
I still like him with Watson, but yeah, in the 6th round, no. I mean, we're all against boom bust type of receivers, and Will Fuller is the now true definition. When you look up boom bust in the dictionary, if for some reason there's 2 words there, it's the picture of Will Fuller
Hyphen it, one word.
with the dash.
But yeah, he's probably going 5-6 rounds too early.
Yeah, he's a double-digit round guy. He should be.
People are valuing him as a first round rookie pick value in Dynasty. I do not get it.
I've heard people on who did the Dynasty rankings have him as a top, like I think a top 20, top 15
Wide receiver.
Dynasty series. Like I don't know how you see that, but sure.
I do not get this at all. I may be very wrong on this, but I will die on this hill.
A lot of people were wrong last year because no one wanted him last year, but no one else expected DeShaun Watson to throw 19 touchdowns.
No, we didn't expect Watson to be that good. We thought
Yeah.
it was going to be Tom Savage show for a while. That lasted 2 quarters.
right.
I feel less certain about my shot bet with you on Katui and Fuller. I mean, I still take Fuller, but
Katui?
Goody.
which is even better. I don't feel as good about it. We'll just go with that.
Thank you for reminding me of the shot, but I was trying to remember what it was, and I hadn't.
Well, I knew what it was.
It was who finishes higher out of those two, and
Yeah.
I've got
No, it was more targets.
It was more targets.
Yeah.
I think QT's targeted more.
Yeah, I thought it was a close one.
I think
I'm starting to almost agree with you more.
I think
on my own
he
shot
fits
bets.
Watson better, honestly.
All right. One last receiver here before we kick it off to the beer review. Danny Amendola,
Shouldn't even be drafted.
also going in the 12th round, wide receiver
Why?
55. And the reason he's going too high is because Albert Wilson is currently going undrafted.
Why? Flip him.
Albert Wilson was paid more. And on top of it, even if Amendola somehow wins the wide receiver 3 job,
He's hurting 2 games.
he's the wide receiver 3 on a Miami passing game that's terrible with Ryan Tannehill throwing the ball. I don't care.
Give me Albert Wilson, who should hold the Landry role, because I don't believe in Devontae Parker. And, well, I'm invoking the Brandon LaFell rule on Albert Wilson.
Okay.
I like Stills and Wilson over Amendola.
I like Stills more than any of
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
And that's gross.
But that's what I'm saying here is Parker should get the volume of targets at least to start the season. Stills looks like he's locked in as the number 2, and then Wilson should beat out Amendola. So why is Amendola being drafted?
He shouldn't be. And Amendola is a lock to get hurt at some point. So
We're getting heated.
On top of it,
Fuck Amendola.
he's 32 years old.
Who can't say
Why?
healthy.
Miami has no direction on this team. At
No, they
all.
don't.
None whatsoever.
Yeah, teams that piss me off a lot.
We
but
know.
I'm starting to temper on the Colts slightly because they had a good draft. Miami still pisses me off a lot.
You actually ranted about a team before. That's how pissed off they made you.
All right, beer review time.
Yeah, let's do it because I need a break from this because this is getting heated but fun also because I like it when we're all hating on the same people.
The team hate is amazing.
Beer review.
Yeah, when it's not just one of us, it's a lot more fun.
All right, what did you think of Dark Side of the Moon Porter by Bald Man Brewing Company?
Well, once I realized it was smoked, I liked it a lot more because I think that you get, especially the coffee and the smoky taste out of it. I mean, you get some of the bitterness of the chocolate on the back end, but not really a shitload of the chocolate comes out. But the smoky taste is definitely prominent on the nose, and I didn't know it was smoked when I took my first drink, so I'm like, this is kind of eh. But then once you told me it was smoked, okay, you got to appreciate something for what it is, and I think they did really good with what they were trying to do.
Yeah, and it's not an overwhelming smoky. I've had some that were like, I'm drinking a campfire right now.
No, I have too, and I hate that. Smoked is like bourbon barrel for me.
You gotta, it's got to be a touch, but not a overwhelming amount.
Okay, I say I can't really taste the chocolate. I take another drink, and I definitely get dark chocolate.
Yeah, it's definitely a dark chocolate. There's not a lot of sweetness to it. It's got a hint of coffee, and it's decently heavy on the smoke without being overwhelming.
Yeah. No, they molded all three flavors well together.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I think it's the third beer I've had from Baldwin Brewing Company.
I've never heard of them, and I'm really disappointed in myself.
It's the first for me, but I'm assuming that all of those guys could use some for hymns.
Yes, probably for hymns. Dan,
I wish I could enjoy this more because I have to work after this, like right away, and I have to handle machinery, and I really shouldn't be.
Big Joe does not count as machinery. Shut up.
It doesn't. But either way, it's fantastic. I mean, it's got the great dark. I taste a lot more coffee into it, but also the smokiness isn't super, into your teeth right when you drink it, which is fantastic. And it's got a great, that darkish chocolate coffee aftertaste to it.
And we haven't had a porter on it in a while, so I wanted to grab one.
I suppose we haven't.
Yeah, we've had
a lot of stouts.
We've had a couple stouts recently, but it's been a while since we've had a true porter. So I wanted to grab that on. So thank you, Baldwin Brewing Company, for jumping on with us. It's a great beer. We'll have to grab some more of that next time I'm up in Minnesota. Moving on to some Too Lows.
Well, let's go to Too Low.
To the lows. It's going to start.
Too Low.
Too low.
All right, kicking us off with Andrew Luck. Is this purely his ADP has not recovered enough yet?
Yep.
I think it's moved up.
Cool. It was me too. Yeah, no, it is an 8. His ADP has not recovered enough. QB 14, 1009, not recovered enough. Now, granted, peripherals are ugly. 59.2 completion percent in his career, but Rivers was around 66% in this offense, so I expect a little bit of a bump there. As far as rushing goes, 60-plus attempts and over 5 yards a carry per season. That was a lot better than I thought. Multiple rush touchdowns every season, 2 but 1. So they're going to have to throw a shitload. This defense is not up to snuff yet. They've got rookies. I like the direction they're going. I like how they're trying to build this team. They're not going to be there for another 2 years or so. So Luck is going to have to throw, and Luck is going to have to throw a lot. In volume matters in fantasy football. He is throwing footballs. He's throwing them pain-free. So I think this is going to recover a lot more. He had top 5 upside, though, before the injury, and I think that he's still got top 8 upside. Yeah, even with
he was
lack of weapons.
He was the QB3 or QB4 in drafts last year before he found out about the shoulder.
Yeah. And here's the thing with guys like Wentz and Watson, even Garoppolo taking those last kind of mid-round spots too. I don't know how much further. Luck will move up probably into the 8th round. I think this is where it's going to end. And he's a guy I'm willing to take in the 6th and 7th round, along with the guy I'll be talking about shortly.
All right, 100% agree with you. Go ahead and talk about Cousins.
Kirk motherfucking Cousins, 3 straight 4,000-yard seasons. This is easily the best supporting cast he'll have. Diggs, Thielen, Rudolph, Cook. His offensive line, yes, it's the weakness of Minnesota's, but he played with the worst. Washington's offensive line last year is probably the worst we've ever seen in terms of injury and depth. They had defensive linemen playing offensive tackle at some points last season?
No, it's not Seattle, so it wasn't quite that bad. But
I think it was worse than Seattle, actually.
They did have Clemmings starting at one point, which we all know is a train wreck.
We all know it's a train wreck. Cousins is going at the 807 QB8. His upside is top 5. He finished 6th last year in points per game. I think it was like 17.4. And that was
it'd be higher than that. He'd be 23-ish if he was 6.
Okay, well, either way, he was fantastic last year, given his lackluster of supporting cast and an offensive line. Like I just said earlier, I'm more than willing to take him in the 6th, 7th round.
Yeah, his wide receiver 1 going into the season last year was Terrell Pryor. We all know how that worked out. We all had a lot of egg on our face because of that.
And his offensive line was only together for, I think, 3 games
before it all started falling apart.
Before everybody got hurt. And then moving on, you might have had some of the starters in there, but all of them were playing injured.
Yeah, there was guys
were throwing injured guys out there.
They had
Trent Williams had he had a bum shoulder almost falling off his fucking arm.
And his knee was fucked up.
He was blocking one arm.
And he's still better than TJ Clemmings.
Morgan Moses was on one leg. And it's still better than TJ Clemmings.
All right. Anyone add on Cousins? I think we've kind of talked about how we like him a few spots higher than this.
And we all hate TJ Clemmings.
Yes, also true.
Clearly.
He should. We both. I think we all have him as the QB 5 or 6.
He's my 5.
Yeah, he's up there.
All right. Cam Newton. So, Hopper, I know you actually agree with me on this one because you took him around earlier than this in the mock we just did.
No, my first and only probably note on Cam Newton, I think the only note I had written down for this was I actually agree with this.
So Cam Newton, outside of 2 seasons, he's finished top 5 in 5 out of 7 seasons so far, which is, that's pretty good. He had over 22 fantasy points a game in all but one season. That was 2016. He's got the best set of weapons probably in his entire career here with Moore, Funchess, Olsen, McCaffrey, and Anderson.
And that's what does it for me. Is I hate his arm. That's well documented. I hate his ability as a thrower. And last year, part of my hate was the fact that they said they were going to let him rush less. And then they realized that wasn't a good idea because they had nobody for him to throw to, so they let him keep rushing. And look, he's boom bust. He's not a guy I want to run in with every week. He's going to be a headache to own. He's going to lose you as many games as he wins you, in my opinion. But that's previously. And when you look at his better weapons, I think that he can take another step as a passer. With Olsen back, McCaffrey in the backfield, DJ Moore on the outside.
Yeah, and the note you made about how they were talking all last offseason about how they're going to keep him from running, we've heard nothing about that this year whatsoever.
It's a terrible fucking decision.
It's a terrible idea. You have to let him run if you want this offense to work. And like I said, it's still going to be boom bust, but I think the floor comes up a little bit from, around 10 points a game to around that 15 to 18.
Yeah, where it's painful. You're hoping for more if you take a quarterback in this early. But you'll take 15 to 18 if you mean you might be getting 36.
And he takes all the goal line.
Exactly, and you will.
And he takes all the goal line carries away from
everybody. Yeah, there's no Mike Tolbert anymore to take those with him.
Where is he buried off to?
He's going in the late 7th round.
Tolbert.
Tolbert's in Buffalo.
Good.
So yeah, it's a situation where I just think he's going a little too late. I'd probably have him up about half a round in 1 or 2 spots in quarterback. So he's just a little too light for me. Running back. Dan, you got Aaron Jones. I'm not sure I agree with you on this one, so sell me.
That's fine. This just means more Aaron Jones for me. He's a better back between him and Jamal Williams. He has 7.5% breakaway run rate, which was second in the league, 5.6 yards per carry second, 5.2 yards per touch, which is 15th. He got the starting role right away over Ty Montgomery when Ty got hurt. He was great against base fronts and light fronts, 6.1 yards per carry second against base fronts, 5.4 against light fronts fifth. He saw 61.2% of light fronts, which was, I think, good for 6th or 7th in the league, which you're going to keep seeing because you have Aaron fucking Rodgers throwing the football. Jamal Williams on the flip side, 3.6 yards per carry, 57th in the league, 4.6 yards per touch, 32nd in the league, 0.7% breakaway run rate. He had 1 breakaway run, which was 75th in the league. Very poor yards per carry against base and light front, which is what he should be seeing the most. 3.4 against base, 3.9 against light. He only had 0.67 yards created per carry, 56. I know this isn't about Jamal Williams, but this is just me painting the picture that Jones will take this role early and run away with it. And that's why I think as an 8th round grade on him, or his ADP in the 8th round is a steal for a guy who could give you running back 2 upside.
All right, because he's currently going as a back end 3. He's running back 36. So you think he's about 12 spots too low?
I have him at running back 27.
Okay, so about 9 spots too low.
Yeah.
So that's an ADP that's about mid 6th.
Yep, I think that's where I took him. I took him at the turn.
You took him early 6th,
which is a bit of a reach, but that team needed running backs, and I love his upside.
All right.
The only note I had on this was that I feel like this is probably about right for him just because you've got Jamal Williams, whose work ethic is well documented, and he saw some work last year, and then Ty Montgomery coming back. It's just an unsure situation. I like him in this range because of the upside. I agree with you. The upside's a ton. I'm just probably less willing than I think most to bet on upside versus floor.
It's been one of the most debated things is who's about to take in Green Bay, and where are you going to take him? I'm higher on him, and I'm willing to take that.
And I think when I was on Football Garbage Time, shout out those guys, Ryan and Hakun do a really good job over there. This was a question that came up, and I did side with Aaron Jones on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was on with going for 2, it was a similar situation, though. I answered the opposite, as I would pick Aaron Jones if the price was even, but based on the price, I'm actually going Ty Montgomery because he's going about 3.5 rounds later.
Yeah, and for me, it was really before ADP.
Up with both.
It was
honestly
before ADP started to take hold, because this was 2 months ago.
Okay.
Or a month ago. No, I think it was about 2 months ago that I did that show with them, and it was just kind of in a vacuum, who would you take? And in a vacuum, all things considered equal, it's Aaron Jones for me.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment, but just based on kind of how the prices started to shake out, I think I'm going to go for the cheapest one, which is Ty.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right. Hopper, you got Lamar Miller, which is also a surprise.
This is a lot of a surprise, but he's going behind guys like Sony Michel, Ronald Jones, Rashad Penny, Kenyon Drake, Mark Ingram. Ingram's on a 4-game suspension. Drake, Penny, Jones, Michel are all kind of unknowns. They added some O-line health, but my love for Ingram as the RB26 is more based on the fact that I don't think Foreman's going to be ready. 340 days the average recovery time for that ACL injury, and even then they don't come back necessarily as strong as they were before. So Lamar Miller should be going slightly earlier. He's going as the RB26 right now. He should probably be going as a 16 to 20. In my opinion, he's a solid running back too, just based on volume alone. I hate his efficiency numbers. That's not a shock to anybody that's listened to the show for any period of time, but he's a lock for a top 24. He was RB16 year before, RB20 year before that, or sorry, RB20 last year, RB16 year before that. And they don't really stack the box against him. He was number 1 in base front carry rate. I mean, it was under 4 yards to carry, but they don't stack the box against him because you've got to worry about Fuller stretching the field, and you've got to worry about Hopkins outside. Now you're going to have to worry about QT.
And Watson running the football.
Running the football. He's not going to see a lot of stacked fronts. And even though the efficiency is going to be ugly, the volume is going to be there. And, I like him as an RB2 or even somebody you can sometimes get as a flex play. And if you can get 2 other running backs with Lamar Miller as your flex, you're in pretty good shape.
You're doing it right.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm not sure how much I'd want to take him higher than his 505. Probably late 4th-ish.
Mid to
I think
early
I took
fourth,
him mid 4th in our
that.
mock, and I'm completely okay with that as an RB2 in a situation where I might go, 2 wide receivers and a running back in the first 3. Exactly what I did in that mock draft. I'm going to get him as a guy who's a safe RB2.
All right. A guy that we talked about a lot in the mock draft episode, so this is not going to take much discussion. Isaiah Crowell, I think, is going a little too low.
Well, I agree with you because I'm the one that drafted him.
Yep. 140 touches are gone with for Forte retiring. They paid Carell as their highest paid back. He's 25. He's coming out of Hugh Jackson's system where he constantly would go away from Carell. Carell would have games where he'd have less than 10 touches. It was ridiculous. He's had 230 plus touches in back-to-back seasons. He had over 1,000 total yards last year. The thing that killed him for fantasy, he had 2 total touchdowns. I'd be amazed if he was that low
Cleveland's
again.
offense is terrible.
Yeah.
It was. And Bilal Powell has a career high of 178 carries. A healthy Forte outrushed him by 8 rushes per game. Crowell was 4.1 yards per carry in Cleveland where he wasn't used. 11th in yards created, 13th in total yak. And that's on just over 200 carries that he finished top 12 in those categories. So if you can imagine him getting in the 240 range, how good he's going to be. I've got him projected at 240-ish touches with Powell around about the 150 range. I still think it's relatively split, but this is a team whose best weapons are the running backs. The wide receiver core is not pretty in the least bit.
And they're going to want to protect whoever their quarterback is.
They are.
Who's not going to steal touchdowns in the goal line like I
It's
did
going to be
last
Josh
year.
McCown for
Well,
the first.
McCown might.
It's going to be Josh McCown for the first 6 games
you're
until
right,
he
he
breaks
might.
something, and then it'll be Sam Darnold. But either way, this is a team that's going to have to lean on that rushing attack. So, Crowell at the 804 is the RB38. I like Crowell as my RB. I'll take Crowell as a flex all day.
Yeah, I've got him at least 5-6 spots ahead of that, so he should be going about a round earlier than he is in the mid second, 7th probably.
I have no issue with him in the 6th.
So, and I apologize because we're once again pounding the table for Crowell. A little lower this time though.
He wasn't the RB12 last year that we were pounding for.
We
either.
might have been pounding a little too hard for Crowell last
and it
year,
wasn't
but
just
this year
us.
I think it's more justified based on ADP.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens as we get into August and when people start actually doing their drafts. But right now, absolutely.
All right. Moving on to wide receivers that are going too low. Let's kick it off with Randall Cobb, who you put your money where your mouth is when drafting him in this last draft.
I did put my money where my mouth is with Randall Cobb because what the hell?
Suspense.
Google Docs, I hate you. There we go. He's a lock for over 100 targets this year with Jordy gone and Devontae Adams there, as much as Green Bay likes to throw the football. In over 3 seasons where he's had 100 plus targets, he's averaged 113 targets, 83 receptions, over 1,000 yards, and 8 touchdowns. It's good enough to be the wide receiver 9 last year. So Randall Cobb going as a wide receiver 34 to me is absolutely ridiculous because I think he's a lock at wide receiver 2 floor, given the fact that they have nothing else there. You've got Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams, who I think is a clear-cut 1 and a top 5 option. And we know Rodgers can support a wide receiver 1 and a wide receiver 2. And Jimmy Graham coming in. Again, they've never used the tight end much, but I think Graham is the third best option on this team. And then you've got a bunch of rookies. Jamon Moore's a guy with upside as far as his combine goes and as far as what his metrics look like, but he is very raw. You've got all types of character questions with EQ St. Brown. Valdez Scantling's a guy that I just don't like in the least bit at all for any reason whatsoever. So Randall Cobb's a clear-cut 2 in this offense, and a clear-cut 2 in this office is a high wide receiver 2 in fantasy.
Yeah, I agree. And people forget, he's not even 28 years old yet. He turns 28 in about 6-7 weeks here.
Yep.
So he's still not that old for a wide receiver. So he could still definitely produce. He is smaller, but he's produced in this offense multiple times before, and he is locked and loaded as the wide receiver too.
Yeah, as long as he gets the targets, he's very productive. But with when Adams taking over, he didn't get the targets, but he's going to get the targets this year.
Yep, and in any sort of half-point or full-point PPR league, I love him.
Yep.
Because even if the touchdowns aren't there, the volume should be.
And we're all talking good about a Packers player.
And it hurts me so.
There's 2 Vikings and a Bears fan, so there you go.
Yep, that should be enough endorsement that you need. Draft him
We
higher.
talked about a Packer too much.
So where should he be going? Probably late 5th?
Yeah, probably about right where I took him.
All right. I've got to... I'm sorry. Dan, do
if
your
you want to
first.
go, if you want to go, you can go. No matter. All right, I'll go anyways. I picked Amari Cooper. I think it's been no joke, or it's been no shocker that I've been high on Cooper. He's my wide receiver 10, and I'm all fucking own up to it every day. Wide receiver 1's in Gruden's offense has, on average, posted about top 10 wide receiver finishes nearly every season. If you average it out, 137 targets, 78 receptions, about 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's an easy lock for wide receiver 1 type of year. Jordy and Bryant are both going to be stealing targets from Cooper, or from themselves more than Cooper, because in Gruden's offenses as well, the wide receiver 1 averages around 135-ish targets, and the wide receiver 2 on average around 70 to 75, so 60 plus more targets. That's a lot more points. I love his potential as a wide receiver 1, and as I did in the last draft, I have no issue taking him in the 3rd round, especially early 3rd round.
I've got him a little lower than you. I think I've got him more as a mid-3rd rounder, but that's pretty close. I've got him as my wide receiver 12.
Yeah, I'm planting my flag on him.
I hope you're right, because I got him everywhere.
You have him in my Dynasty League, and I'm okay with it.
Any thoughts on Cooper there, Hopper?
Crabtree's gone, who had 7.8 targets a game. So that's going to vote in Cooper's favor because I think he's easily going to be the most targeted guy in this offense. 67.7 catchable target rate was 5 points lower than the previous year. His contested catch rate fell off of a cliff, but I think that the volume increase is enough for me to have him above wide receiver 20. I think he should be in about the wide receiver 14, 15 range.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of going back to our bias episode. This is people who got burned by him last year.
I got burned by him last year, and I have still no issue with him.
Well, we also look at this shit a lot more than a lot of people do.
You got to understand that him being shit last year
he was also hurt last year.
Well, he was hurt. Carr was hurt. The whole offense was shit.
That's exactly it. He was hurt. Carr was hurt, and the whole offense was shit. It was a product of the offense, not him.
Yep. So Cooper, I mean, he's one of the few guys in Oakland who I think is going to be worth fantasy relevance. It's probably him, maybe
Lynch.
Maybe Marshawn Lynch, and if you're real desperate at tight end, maybe Jared Cook. That's going to be about it.
And Carr in super flex leagues.
Yep. All right. I want to talk about DeShaun Jackson. He's currently going as the wide receiver 60, 13-11 off the board. And yes, this is post-Winston suspension. If you look at his last 4 years, this is his average stat line. 6.2 targets, 3.6 catches, 62.4 yards, and 0.3 touchdowns a game. That's just over 10 fantasy points a game, which should be going much higher than 13-11 and half-point PPR. That's a borderline flex player for you, a guy who should probably be going closer to around 10 or 11 with that type of production. And last year, he was pretty close to those numbers. It wasn't always pretty. The offense was a bit dysfunctional, but it should be better this year. I don't see any reason why DJ should be pulled off the field. He's still going to be the outside burner there with Evans and Godwin running it. I think he's still going to see around that 5.5 to 6.5 targets a game. And Fitzpatrick is a capable enough backup that even losing Winston for a few games, I'm not worried.
I agree with that. But My hold up on DeShaun Jackson. He lost a target per game when Godwin did see more than 15 targets. The utilization was up for Godwin the last 2 games of the season from 10.5 routes ran to 28.2 per game. They've already said he's earned the right to start. Yards per reception was down almost 4 yards over the previous year also. So I think he's losing a step as far as what he's actually doing. Is a wide receiver 60? Sure. I've never been a giant DeShaun Jackson fan anyway, so I'm a little biased because I don't like boom bust. That's not a surprise to any of our listeners by this point that I don't like boom bust.
We're anti-boom busts here as a podcast. So.
Yeah, but
So wide receiver 60 is too low.
Yeah, it's fine.
yeah,
I mean,
he should be probably closer to about wide receiver 50-ish.
like,
No, I agree with that. And I mean, you're really digging deep here, but yeah, he should be somebody that's in wide receiver 45 to 50 range, which still isn't great, but he's going to give you a couple games that are worth it down.
Yeah. I mean, and for a lot of these positions, I try to go and be like, all right, we haven't talked about this guy much. We haven't talked about this guy much when I was highlighting him.
He's a good late round pick in best ball. I'll give him that.
Oh,
Only
best ball all over that shit.
my only concern with him is if they want to do more 2 tight end sets, and I think Godwin takes the role over Jackson, and Jackson may lose snap share.
Can we all just agree that between Godwin and the 2 tight ends that Humphreys is dead?
Sadly
You were the
for
only
you.
one keeping
Yeah,
him alive in the
exactly.
first place.
I was.
I think
It worked.
Justin Watson killed him.
You know what? It worked for a little bit last year too.
It did.
It did.
For like a game or 2,
All right.
which is all you need.
David Njoku.
Nah. Joku.
This is incredibly too low. DeValve's gone.
Yeah.
Clay's career low with Tyrod was 74 targets.
This is my guy.
I don't give a shit.
Go ahead, buddy.
I'm hijacking this.
Go ahead.
Charles Clay's career low with Tyrod at quarterback was 74 targets while missing games, 5.7 targets per game. As long as Tyrod's a quarterback, even Baker Mayfield, who had Mark Andrews as his primary receiving option in Oklahoma, there's nothing to get in Njoku's way of being a top 12 tight end.
So he's going at 1305, tight end 14. Makes no fucking sense. I get it that the Cleveland offense there's a lot of mouths to feed. I get that, but the touchdown upside with him and the red zone upside with him. And the fact is, he was the only tight end in the offense that was actually productive. 26 or a plus 28.9% target premium, 4th best in the league. Tyrod Taylor loves to target his tight ends, as we just mentioned, and you get the same from Baker Mayfield with Mark Andrews. They know how to use their slot, their move tight ends very well.
Yep, I've got him a couple spots ahead of this, and he's going to be a target player for me when I'm looking at those streaming tight ends.
At this range, definitely.
All right, a guy who I'll probably be hoping I get instead, though, Hopper, you've got Greg Olsen.
I will not hijack this from you. You can have this one too.
I am so sorry
No, you're good. Boo.
that I did that. I was just ready to go on Njoku because I felt this.
I'm
strongly
so
about it
glad
as you
I
did.
it made you feel really happy though.
Look, Greg Olsen averages over 120 targets per year in this offense, and he was coming off of a foot injury last year. I get it; it wasn't great, but when you look at the tight end position as a whole, he's going as tight end 6. He should still be the 4. He should still be right behind Gronk, Kelsey, Ertz.
Yeah, the only person who I think you could put in front of him is the person I'm about to talk about, but any other thoughts you got on him?
No, not really. It was just it's pure volume. He's seen over 1,000 yards per season in this offense. There's no sense in him going as a 6, and especially going in the 6th round. He should be going about a round earlier.
All right. A guy who is also going probably at least a round too low, Delaney Walker. Going at 708, tight end 8 off the board. His average stat line over the last 4 years, 113 targets, 74 receptions, 896 yards, 5 touchdowns. Finishes a top 6 for 4 straight years, and he's going as the tight end 8. And this is an offense that was terrible last year and is due for some positive regression.
I took him ahead of Olsen
Yeah.
in that mock draft.
I think those are the 2 guys fighting for tight end 4.
They are the 2 guys fighting for tight end 4, and they're the 2 guys that you should absolutely be taking in that, in that mid to late 5th round behind. Because if you're going to go tight end, you go early. You get yourself in on the top 8.
Mm-hmm.
And if you miss, you go late.
Yep.
And Delaney Walker is clearly in that conversation because of what you just mentioned. The average is over 100 targets the last 4 seasons. You can't turn your back on volume at this position.
Yeah, there's not many tight ends who average over 100 targets a year. In fact, it's Walker, Olsen, and I don't think Gronk's that high.
By the way, I was mid burp for that. Gronk is
When he's
Gronk isn't quite that high. He's still over 100 though. He's still over 100 last year, and he was hurt, and that
he was
surprised me.
suspended for a game.
He was suspended for a game and missed one game.
Yep.
Yeah,
The Dwayne Allen fiasco.
Fuck that league.
and he still saw 105 targets.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he played every game, he would be on pace for probably 115-ish. But
Yeah.
so
Still, I mean, they're all right there together.
I love him there.
absolutely are.
I'd throw in Jimmy Graham, but that's because I'm higher on them than you guys, and I love him in that offense.
I'm a tier lower on Jimmy Graham.
Yeah,
It's
and
just
that's completely fine.
it's just because of the uncertainty
Well,
of
and,
what he did.
and a lot of
last
people
year.
are taking him in the 4th and 5th round. I want nothing to do with
Well,
him.
I
Jimmy Graham.
would have had him in the 8th round, which I'm completely fine with in
No,
our
that's-
mock draft.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, if you'd taken him at the end of the 7th there, that would have been fine.
Yep.
All right. Moving on to our flex, we'll do our last 3 players here. Let's go ahead and kick off Jamison Crowder, who is rising possibly out of your...
He's moved up 2 spots since our division, or 2 rounds since our division preview. I think he was a 905. Now he's at 801. So he was a 1005. Now he's at 801. I think he's moved up even more. So I think people are listening to the show. That's probably why, because I've been pounding.
It's all us.
I've been pounding the fucking table for Jamison Crowder. As I said in the mock episode when I talked about this draft pick, he is the best receiver in this offense. I'm sorry if you guys believe in Josh Doxson. He's not meant and molded for Alex Smith's game. And also their tight ends tend to get hurt. Jordan Reed never wants to stay healthy, and Vernon Davis is an old shell of himself. He's on the corpse at this point. So Crowder is going to see a lot of over the middle work, and Smith absolutely loves guys that get wide open on their own. And Crowder, 2.07 target separation, 7th best in the league last year.
That's the exact note I had. And Alex Smith was number 1 in throwing to receivers who are open, more or less. And Jamison Crowder was 7th in target separation. So that's a match made in heaven.
And there's one other note here. I believe he battled injuries early season last year.
He did.
Yeah. So from week 8 on, which is right where his snap count went up, he was a wide receiver 16 from that point on. 14.3 points per game in PPR leagues. And he posted 5 wide receiver 1 weeks, or he posted 5 wide receiver 1 or 2 finishes in those weeks.
All right. Nelson Agholor.
Nelson Agholor, I mentioned in the mock draft episode on Monday. Go check that out if you haven't yet. He's going as a wide receiver 47, the 1009. He finished as a wide receiver 22 last year, but 95 targets last season. Departures of Torrey Smith, Brent Selleck, and others are going to hopefully bump that up some. Went at 109.5 QB rating when he was targeting him, and his red zone utilization was higher than our Alshon Jeffries. Dan mentioned they kind of flip-flopped. Even if they do,
He still produced for you.
I still have him in the 85 to 95 target range. He's going to produce, and I think he's going to produce as at bare minimum wide receiver 3. His catch rate went way up. He should be going way higher than the wide receiver 47.
So I don't have him that much higher than the 47. I got him in the 42 range.
He's my 37.
What do you
I
have, Matt?
love Agholor.
Like I said, I haven't exactly sorted based on my projections yet. I think initially I had him in the 35 to 40 range, but I think he's gonna end up higher than that. I think he's gonna end up in a high wide receiver 3 range.
And as he keeps
So
playing
in like
this,
the high 20s.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that would be. I mean, high wide receiver 3 is gonna be mid to low 20s.
it'd be around mid 30s. It'd be low 30s.
Yeah, because wide receiver 1 would be 12, wide receiver 2 would be through 24. So I
3
mean,
would be 36.
you can't really get high 20s
Oh,
out
I'm
of a
sorry.
wide receiver 3.
I'm sorry. I was thinking high. I was thinking high 3. Not low. It's been a lot of beer.
I also think he's going to be a little
I'm
more.
glad I could just explain math to you, though.
I also think he's going to be a little more balanced, and I think even safer as he gets more accustomed to this slot role. And
I think so too.
I think you're right
And
here.
where he's going, you can have him right now as your 4th wide receiver.
at this point, you probably have as your
Your
fifth. Like I would take him
depend-
all day there.
Depending on running back or wide receiver.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. 10th round is definitely too low. I would be looking personally more in the 8th or 9th. It sounds like you guys are even thinking more 6th or 7th.
I'm thinking more
He's in my
6th or
7th or
7th,
8th.
but as long as he stays this low, I'm absolutely going to take him in the 8th or 9th because I'm going to get him ahead of his ADP, and I'm gonna,
No, your guy, Nick.
and I'm going to get
And-
good ROI on that.
And this is why you mock. All right, I'm double dipping on
love
Buccaneers
it.
receivers
This
because
is-
I still
No,
think they're
I love this one though. I like this one a lot more than your last take.
because they're both because it's going to be a pass first offense. Ronald Jones is not going to come in and get 300 carries.
He's not built for it.
Yes,
Sorry, he's not.
You know, he can't. He's probably going to see around 220 to
And he's
240
probably still hurt.
touches.
which means that passing volume
and
has
he's
to
going
go
to miss 2 games.
Yes, which means passing volume has to go somewhere. It can't all go to Mike Evans. Brait and Howard are going to get some. Some is going to go to DeShaun Jackson. But a guy who I think is going to break out this year, and we've been pushing it since we did the rookie review on their film in our first rookie year last year, is Chris Godwin, who's currently not being drafted. He is
so good.
He is my wide receiver 48 in my rankings. And I think I might even have to still bump him up further just because the way he started producing once he started getting snaps at the end of last season was unbelievable.
Yeah,
this guy is ridiculously talented. He's my number 3 wide receiver coming out of the 2016 class.
He's going to push Mike Evans for volume.
2017 class.
I think he's going to push Mike Evans for volume this year.
I'll let you know what I have him at here in just a second. I got to pull that back up, but I'm going to give my points on him, then I'll let you guys talk about him. But when running more than 15 routes, 4.2 receptions, 72.6 yards, 1 touchdown is his average. 9th in yards per target, 8th in yards per pass route. Very solid contested catch rate. In the Cutter offense, Vincent Jackson, who ran as his wide receiver 2 when he was in
San Diego.
Yeah, in San Diego. I just somehow switched tabs. Saw 6.1 targets per game his 1 year in it. That's a pretty reasonable comp for me for Godwin, is about 6 targets a game. And if he gets that, he's running more than 15 routes, and I think you're going to see that type of production, especially once Jameis comes back.
I think he's going to help win leagues next year. I honestly think that.
No, he is going to be a league winner next year.
It's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a guy that we've loved since he came out of the draft, and we thought landing there was going to be a bit of a simmer for him, but it looks like year 2.
It was last year.
We might see a breakout for him. So we're definitely looking at him as a.
Well, now it's a simmer for Justin Watson, and Godwin's risen to the top. So
as they move away from Evans and they just use Godwin and Watson.
I mean, they could run all 3 of those guys.
They could,
because Jackson's
and
probably.
This is why
gone
Winston
next year,
is still very high on my rankings for Dynasty,
even if he can't keep himself out of trouble. All right. Anything else we want to do on too high, too low here? Any thoughts or players that we might have added?
Just Chris Godwin real quick. I've got him projected 98 targets, 62 receptions, 863 yards, 3 touchdowns.
That is a low wide receiver 3?
Yep. So there you go.
Mid-30s.
Yep.
Low 30s.
All right. So anything else we want to add on this, guys?
Nope. Let's go home.
Well, remember to go ahead and register for the Redraft Listener League. You can do that by emailing or DMing Hopper at HopBFF with 2 P's. And it's you can do a donation to Fantasy Cares with a screenshot, review on iTunes with a screenshot, subscribe on YouTube with a screenshot, or purchase any merchandise for us if you want to do that.
And remember, the merchandise gets you 3 entries.
Yeah, so it's worth the other 3 combined. So you can get up to 6 total. So go ahead and hit up Hopper to do that. He's the one organizing that again this year. It's going to be a super flex league. I know. Anything else we should know about the league?
No, super flex, half PPR, not a whole lot else. Oh yeah, the playoff format is one thing I did want to highlight because I am doing that a little bit different. So 2 divisions, right? It's going to be split into 2 divisions by random drawing like we did last year. The 2 division winners will get playoff spots. The other 2 are going to go to the highest record that wasn't a division winner and the most points for that wasn't a division winner. So a little bit of wild card implications there.
All right. Anything else you want to add on the Redraft League before we call it an episode?
Nope, let's call it an episode.
All right. Well, reminder, you can follow us at BeerfieldFF on Twitter. Individually, I'm at Nick Sparts. Across the table from me is Dan Thury.
At Thury BFF.
And one last time, Christopher Hopper.
At HotBFF with 2 P's. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for listening. We're going to start next week going through our QB rankings. We'll catch you next time at Beerfield Fantasy Football.
See ya. Peace.